This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the lockdown coverage, week number 5 in the National Football League. Indianapolis Colts at home taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Who knew? 0-4 versus a 1-3 game could be so compelling and entertaining. The first half, not so much. But the second half and into overtime, I thought was a well-played football game between two teams hungry for a win. And it was actually entertaining to watch. Pleasantly surprised. Not all overtime games are fun to watch. Okay? See Arizona, San Francisco last week. So this was actually a fun, entertaining game. And I must admit, I am quickly becoming a huge fan of watching the Indianapolis Colts. They have a lot of young football players that I actually like. And I told you I thought they had one of the better drafts last year. And one of my favorite players in the entire draft last year actually was on the field and had a huge role in this win. And I'm excited to see him play. Marlon Mack was huge in this game, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And also, we'll talk about the 49ers and them coming close yet again. And they're going to win eventually. It's going to happen at some point this season. They've lost their last 4 games by a combined 11 points. Like, they're close. They're as close as you can get to winning without actually winning. And so at some point, they're going to break through and beat someone. I hope it's not next week. But at some point, they're going to get somebody. And they came close again, but they just simply can't get over the hump. But the Indianapolis Colts, they're an intriguing team right now, and I'll tell you why here in a second. But first, if you haven't already done so, what are you doing? No, seriously, what are you doing? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply hitting the subscribe button and becoming a member of the Louie T Network. I've got a number of social media platforms that will keep you informed on what's going on here on the Louie T Network. There's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Facebook. All of those links are in the description down below, as well as the link to donate to this channel via PayPal. There'll be some alternate options coming soon to a screen near you. But in the meantime, this is your primary way to donate to this channel. And if you can, I would greatly appreciate any donations that may come. Again, it doesn't matter how big or small, I appreciate them all. And if you can't give, all I ask is that you continue to give me the support that you've given me over the years. Continue to support the channel by liking the videos and sharing those videos and continuing to watch these videos. And so, again, all I can ask is that you just continue to support if you cannot give in a monetary fashion. In any event, this was a fun game to watch. And we're going to start with the now, all of a sudden, 2-3 Indianapolis Colts, 1 game back of first place in that wacky AFC South division. And not wacky in the sense of the last couple of years where, the AFC South is the worst division in football. I can't believe they get to go to the playoffs. No, not wacky in that way, but wacky as in wide open and wow, this division isn't half bad. Look, all of a sudden, you're 2-3 and you're the Indianapolis Colts. Remember, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a discussion going around. Should the Colts bring Andrew Luck back this season? They're going to be a really bad football team. Might as well sit Andrew Luck down the entire year and make sure he's fully healthy. And I said, I don't know about that. I really think Jacoby Brissett's playing well, and he's going to give them an opportunity. And their schedule worked out in a favor in a fashion that allows them to get some opportunities to win, some games at home versus some bad football teams, gave them opportunities to win. They easily could have been 3-2. They should have beat the Arizona Cardinals at home. They let that one slip through their fingers. But they've been fortunate enough to get some games at home versus Cleveland and San Francisco that they're 2-3 right now. And Andrew Luck, I don't know when exactly he's going to come back, but he did practice last week. So you've got to think that the timetable for his return has to be in the next couple of weeks or so. If they can continue to play competitive football, you look at this division and the way things are shaping out with the injury to Marcus Mariota and not knowing when he's going to return to the lineup. That Tennessee Titans team is a farce without Marcus Mariota. They're a joke without Mariota in the lineup. They're going to continue to lose ball games with Matt Cassell at quarterback. And so you got to think you got a shot because they're going to continue to struggle without Mariota in the lineup. You look at the Texans, they just had a ton of injuries decimate their defense. Watt gone for the season. Merciless gone for the season. They're not going to be the same team defensively. You already don't know what you're getting from them offensively, even though we love what Watson has done over the last 3 weeks. You still got to think it's a huge question mark. They're not going to win on a consistent basis, you don't think. And then you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's blow a team out 1 week, lose the next week. Whoop some ass the next week, lose the next week. Whoop some ass, well, this is the lose week. So they're probably going to be 3-3 after this week. So if you're the Colts, no matter what happens, you're going to be in this thing if you just continue to play competitive football and give yourself a chance to win. And Jacoby Brissett gives them that opportunity. Could you imagine if Scott Tolzien was still at the helm? They'd be 0-5 right now. But instead, they're 2-3 with an opportunity to get back to 500 after their next contest. And so Jacoby Brissett, I've been talking about this probably dating back to the Arizona game. That was his first start in Indy. I talked about how I felt like this guy could start in the league. And I'm looking around the league and I'm saying, could you imagine if he was in Jacksonville right now, playing the way that he's playing? This Jaguars team would actually be scary if Jacoby Brissett was in Jacksonville. They've got weapons in Jacksonville, even though their biggest weapons are hurt, or their biggest weapon is hurt in Allen Robinson. They still got Lee and Hearns, and they've got other guys out there. Could you imagine if Jacoby Brissett was able to get to Jacksonville somehow, some way? And obviously, this is all hypothetically speaking. He's not going anywhere right now. If I'm the Indianapolis Colts, though, I'm telling you what, the minute Andrew Luck is healthy, and you know you can't guarantee Luck's health. He's been injury plagued the last 2 or 3 seasons. There's no guarantee how long he stays healthy for. But if I were the Indianapolis Colts, the minute Andrew Luck was healthy, I would be floating Jacoby Brissett's name around league circles and seeing just how interested teams are, because this guy is uber talented and he can start in this league. You're not telling me that there are 32 quarterbacks better than Jacoby Brissett in this league, or 31 other quarterbacks better than him. He is better than probably 10 starting quarterbacks in this league. If I were to go sit down and look at the quarterbacks that started in last week's game, and that includes the injured quarterbacks, includes the quarterbacks that didn't play, I should say, those quarterbacks that started for them, not the quarterbacks that are out like Mariota and Derek Carr. I'm talking about the guys that started in their place. That includes those guys. He's better than a lot of those quarterbacks. He could have started for the 49ers. They'd be 2-3 or 3-2 right now if Jacoby Brissett was the 49ers quarterback. Even though I don't think Billy Ho's doing a terrible job, it's just that he's Billy Ho. There's only so much he can do. But in any event, Brissett continues to impress, even though he did have a huge, potentially back-breaking interception in overtime, like he did in their last overtime loss against Arizona. Remember, they've been to overtime and won against who they beat? Nope, they haven't won in overtime yet. They were 0-1. They lost. Their last overtime game was a loss to Arizona. He had the back-breaking pick in that game. He threw another one in this game. But this time, the defense was able to get the stop, and they were able to get the football back, and he made a great play to get them down there in the first place. But Marlon Mack, who I want to talk about now, was the story of this game for me, at least. T.Y. Hilton showed up, and we always talk about T.Y. Hilton, how he goes ghost sometimes. It was good to see him show up, make some huge plays. That's what they need out of him. He can't go AWOL. If they're going to have any chance of winning, he's got to put up big numbers week in and week out. They need him to be more consistent. It was good to see Dante Moncrief make some big plays. He had a huge third down grab in this game. It was good to see some other guys step up. Jack Doyle wasn't able to play, so you needed other guys to step up at the tight end position. It's good to see other guys stepping in. But the guy that I want to talk about is Marlon Mack. I'm so sick to my stomach that the Redskins didn't pick this guy, because I thought he was a true difference maker. When he's healthy and he's right, He's a dynamic back. You saw that in this game. You know, the 22-yard touchdown run was a thing of beauty. The run in overtime to set them up with the field goal was a thing of beauty, and it's what this guy brings to the table. His ability to stick his foot in the ground, make a cut, and then accelerate is unlike any other back that was in this past year's draft. Yeah, there was some fast backs, but Marlon Mack, don't allow the time speed to fool you. This guy is electric and dynamic, and he was that at South Florida. He continues to be that now that he's in the league, and I'm going to have so much fun watching him with this Colts team. And I think it's a perfect yin and yang between he and Frank Gore. Frank Gore is the steady, perfect cut in between the tackles back, and then you get the change of pace, and it's a big change of pace because we know Frank Gore is not running anybody. Then you get the home run threat ability of Marlon Mack coming into the game and his ability to cut it, bounce it outside, which can be a detriment at times. He loves to bounce everything outside. You saw that in this game. But in any event, if he gets out there, you're in trouble. And he's a lot of fun to watch. 9 carries, 91 yards, and a touch. Almost had a second touch. But in any event, that's what he brings to the table. 10 yards per pop is what Marlon Mack brings to the table. That ability, man, was that fun to watch. And I told you, I'm in love with the draft that the Colts put forth in 2017. He was one of the guys that I thought was an excellent selection. You know how I feel about Malik Hooker and what he's done. He had a rough go of it in this particular game because the tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, George Kittle, was going to work on the Indianapolis Colts, even caught a touchdown on Malik Hooker. So he had a rough go of it in this game. But in any event, Quincy Wilson, I think, is going to be a good young player for you at the cornerback position. Malik Hooker is going to be a hell of a safety for you as a young guy. My last guy that I'm waiting for as a young player out of that 17 draft is Terrell Basham, outside linebacker that I think is going to eventually be able to get pressure on the quarterback for you. Good to see Jabal Sheard do that. Speaking of which, let's move over to the defensive side of things for this Colts football team. Good to see Jabal Sheard getting pressure on the quarterback. That's always nice because that's one of my biggest complaints with this Colts football team is the lack of pressure on the opposing quarterback. You saw it again in this game. Billy Ho had way too much time to throw. That's why you saw guys like Pierre Garçon, George Kittle, and Marquise Goodwin eat you alive in this game and give them a shot in the second half. It's because you don't get enough pressure on the quarterback. That being said, I like Matthias Farley. I think he's a young guy at the strong safety position that has some potential to do some things. Obviously, there are other players that you might like at that position. You're getting healthy at the cornerback position now, with Butler being healthy now and Vontae Davis, who, he's an enigma at times, plays really good, plays poorly at times, but in any event, he's still a number one corner in this league, still a number one corner for this team, and they play better when he's out there. And so in any event, this Colts defense, they're coming along. I told you I like the young linebackers, especially the guys from Florida and John Bostic and Kirk and Morrison. This team has some stuff. And if they could put it all together, this could be a dangerous team. And they're just missing that one ingredient. I don't know if that one ingredient is Andrew Luck. Maybe it is. But this team has the potential to be dynamic and explosive offensively when Luck comes back. Because all of a sudden, if Marlon Mack and Frank Gore are in the backfield as a 1-2 punch, you've got the explosiveness of T.Y. Hilton and Moncrief, who I think will elevate his game once Luck comes back, because Luck will look for Moncrief a little bit more. I think you could upgrade the tight end position athletically, but nonetheless, Jack Doyle is serviceable enough. There's some stuff here with Indy. I'm not ready to put Indy to bed yet. If Luck comes back and this team is 2-4, they got a shot in this division, man. And this was a big win. They had to have this one. Couldn't allow this one to slip through their fingers. If they had any aspirations of trying to win this division when Luck comes back, they needed to get this one, and they did. Big win in overtime. This was a team win by the Colts. Special teams was solid. Anna Vinatieri was outstanding in this game. Knocked home a couple of 50-yarders and the 51-yarder to win the game. The offense was outstanding. Jacoby Brissett aside from the one interception in overtime, I thought he was phenomenal in this game. That throw to T.Y. Hilton on the run, are you kidding me? This guy was outstanding in this game. T.Y. Hilton was outstanding in this game. And Marlon Mack was outstanding in this game. And then the defense gave you opportunities. Even though I thought the 49ers did some really good things in the second half of this game, the defense gave you a shot by getting the stop in overtime after the sudden change of possession to allow you to take this game in overtime. So big win for this Colts football team, 26-23 in overtime to get to 2-3 in the season. For the 49ers, it's another heartbreak. It's heartbreak hotel for this 49ers team. They just can't seem to get over the hump. They're close each and every single week. Aside from week one's 23-3 loss versus Carolina, this team has been in virtually every single game, and it's come down to a score or less. And really, it's come down to a field goal or less. You look at the loss in week 2. I want to say the week 2 loss was to Seattle. That was 12-9. You look at the loss to the Rams in week 3. That was 41-39. You look at the loss last week to Arizona in overtime, 18-15. And then you look at this loss here versus Indianapolis in week 5, 26-23 in overtime. It's just been a hard luck football team in San Francisco. They're going to eventually get over the hump at some point this season. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but they're ultra competitive. We saw a lot of Matt Breida in this game, or Breida in this game, and I actually thought he ran the football very well, and he's got that explosiveness and that burst that you lack with Hyde. And I don't know if he's injured or what, but he wasn't able to finish this game. You saw a lot of Breida later on in this game, and I thought he handled himself well. You look at the tight end position. George Kittle was outstanding in this game, by far and away his best game as a pro. And he is a guy that I was very high on in the draft process, and now you're starting to see why. He was the reason this game even made it to overtime. He made clutch catch after clutch catch, including the big fourth and goal catch to get you into the end zone and tie the game up at 23 and send it to overtime. So he was outstanding in this game. Pierre Garçon, we already know what Pierre is for this football team. He was outstanding throughout the game. How about Marquise Goodwin making some big catches? None bigger than the deep ball where he's extended out and caught the football. It was a hell of a throw by Billy Ho on that play. This was what this 49ers offense can look like. That second half, to me, is what Kyle Shanahan is looking for. They went for it on a 4th and 1, fooled the defense. Billy Ho with a great throw off his back foot to a wide open George Kittle. That's what this offense is. Play action fake, run the football, more play action fake. We saw it with the Falcons over the last 2 years. You're seeing it now with this 49ers team. This is the ideal look for this offense. Be able to run the football effectively, which will lead to play action fake, which will lead to those linebackers cheating up and being nosy, which will give you opportunities to work the intermediate stuff and then take your shots down the field when the safeties get nosy to try to stop the run. So this was an effective game plan by Kyle Shanahan in that offense. They just fell short in overtime. And you look at this defense, I think this defense is young. I think they've got a lot of talented pieces on that side of the football. I still think they need more pressure on the quarterback. And that will come, I think. Eventually, that will come. I think they will eventually get more pressure on the quarterback. But there's talent all around this defense. It would be so much better if your second first round pick, Reuben Foster, didn't get injured. I'd love to see this defense with him flying around on the football field. And that will happen in due time. He'll be back at some point this season. But in any event, this is a talented defense that I think as the offense scores more points, they'll be able to get a little bit more creative and do some things that may be able to create more turnovers, give the football back to the offense, shorten the field for them, and maybe this thing will start to turn around for the 49ers. But right now, this defense is a work in progress. New defensive coordinator, a lot of new pieces and parts, still trying to kind of figure out where everybody mixes and matches. You got a whole new scheme. And so everybody's still trying to feel their way out defensively, but make no mistake about it, this team has talent. And they're a piece or two away from making some drastic changes and really being competitive in that NFC West division. But at 0-5, don't let that record fool you. This 49ers team has been uber competitive in just about every game except for week 1 versus Carolina. But again, they fall short in this game, 26-23 in overtime at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts, who go to 2-3 and now are just a game back of first place in the AFC South. Meanwhile, the 49ers just can't catch a break. They dropped to 0-5 on the season and still looking in search of their first win. Let's get to any comments that may be out there. And just one. My man Enrique Valencia says, Max should get more carries. Gore isn't explosive anymore. He left a lot of yards on the field. I mean, I think they understand that. They know that Marlon Mack needs more touches. But, they trust Frank Gore. They trust his ability to not put the football on the carpet. They trust him in pass protection. I think you're going to see gradually. And this was Marlon Mack's first game back from injury. I expect him to see more touches. And I think they were just slowly working him back into the swing of things. He's going to get the football more because they understand that this guy is a home run waiting to happen. You saw it in this game. They understand the powder keg that they're sitting on here with Marlon Mack, and he's going to get more touches. Trust me. Enrique Valencia says, Pagano tried his best to throw the game, especially with that special teams toss. Chuck is a special individual, and at some point, and I don't advocate for Chuck getting the hook, but at some point they're going to have to replace Chuck. Chuck is not I love his enthusiasm, but I don't think Chuck's a head coach in this league. I don't think he's head coach material, but that's nor here nor there. Bottom line is this team won a game that they needed to win, and they're 2-3, and they're keeping the ship afloat for Andrew Luck if he should be healthy enough to come back in the near future, and that's what matters. And so I know you don't like Chuck, but this team is 2-3, and they got a shot. And so they get a big win on Sunday in Week 5 versus San Francisco 49ers, 26-23 in overtime. That's going to do it for this video. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Colts get it done, 26-23 in overtime. Run their record to 2-3 and sit a game back in the standings in the AFC South behind 3-2 Jacksonville. Meanwhile, the 49ers' tough luck continues as they fall to 0-5 with another overtime loss, this time to the Indianapolis Colts. I've got more games to break down, including Panthers at Lions and Raiders hosting Ravens. More lockdown coverage coming your way. I'll see you guys in a bit. Have a good one.